Beneath the churning waters of the North Sea lies a hidden chapter of human history that few people know about. A vast, fertile landscape once connected Britain to continental Europe, a now-submerged territory called Doggerland. Approximately the size of modern Britain, this land bridge supported thriving Mesolithic human populations who hunted mammoths, gathered resources, and built communities alongside diverse wildlife. Join us as we explore this fascinating underwater world, its dramatic end, and what it can teach us about our own future in the face of climate change. During the last ice age, when global sea levels were substantially lower than today, the area we now call the North Sea was actually a vast, resource-rich plain. Imagine standing where fish now swim, looking out over grasslands, forests, hills, and winding rivers. This wasn't a narrow land bridge, but an expansive territory approximately the size of modern Britain, connecting what is now the British Isles directly to continental Europe. Mesolithic humans made this fertile landscape their home, hunting, gathering, and establishing communities in this prehistoric frontier. The wildlife was diverse and abundant. Herds of mammoths traversed the plains, deer foraged in forests, and massive aurochs, the wild ancestors of modern cattle, roamed freely. This vibrant ecosystem supported human populations for thousands of years, leaving behind tools, weapons, and other artifacts that now rest on the seabed. Doggerland represents not just a geographical curiosity, but a crucial missing piece in our understanding of prehistoric European populations and their movements. The story of Doggerland's disappearance begins approximately 11,700 years ago as the last ice age concluded. Global temperatures began a steady rise, triggering the melting of massive ice sheets that had locked away enormous volumes of water during the glacial period. This warming wasn't sudden by human standards, but in geological terms, it represented a relatively rapid shift. As temperatures climbed, the melting ice sheets released their stored water, causing sea levels to rise relentlessly year after year, decade after decade. The low-lying plains of Doggerland were particularly vulnerable to this encroachment. By approximately 8,500 years ago, the continuous landmass had begun fragmenting into an archipelago of islands. The human populations living in these regions would have witnessed the transformation of their environment within a single lifetime. Coastlines retreating, familiar hunting grounds disappearing beneath the waves, and the gradual isolation of once connected communities. Archaeological evidence suggests these Mesolithic peoples adapted remarkably well to their changing world, modifying their hunting techniques, developing more sophisticated fishing methods, and adjusting their settlement patterns as their territory gradually shrank. While the gradual rise in sea levels had been transforming Doggerland for millennia, its final chapter arrived with sudden, catastrophic force around 6200 BCE. Off the coast of Norway, an underwater landslide of staggering proportions occurred, what scientists now call the Storegga Slide. The scale of this geological disaster is difficult to comprehend. Approximately 3,000 cubic kilometers of sediment shifted and slumped into deeper waters. This massive displacement of material unleashed a devastating tsunami across the North Atlantic. The resulting waves reached truly terrifying heights, 20 to 25 meters in some coastal regions, and swept across the remaining Doggerland archipelago with overwhelming force. Imagine the horror of Mesolithic inhabitants as they witnessed an unstoppable wall of water approaching their settlements. Archaeological evidence suggests this tsunami likely obliterated any remaining communities in the region. Sediment cores from the seabed reveal a distinctive layer of material deposited by this cataclysmic event. Within a geological instant, the final remnants of Doggerland disappeared beneath the waves, forcing surviving populations to migrate to higher ground in what is now Britain or continental Europe. These survivors would have carried stories of their lost homeland, perhaps forming the basis for later flood myths that appear in many European cultural traditions. The submerged region derives its name from the Dogger Bank, a prominent sandbank in the North Sea that once formed an elevated part of this lost landscape. For centuries, North Sea fishermen have occasionally made puzzling discoveries in their nets, worked flints that couldn't have formed naturally, bone tools showing clear signs of human craftsmanship, and even human remains. These artifacts provided tantalizing glimpses of a prehistoric landscape hidden beneath the waves, but their significance wasn't fully understood until relatively recently. The term Doggerland itself was coined by archaeologist Brian E. Coles in 1998, giving a formal name to this submerged territory that had previously existed only as a theoretical concept among researchers. The recognition of Doggerland as a significant archaeological region represents the culmination of centuries of accidental discoveries and decades of purposeful scientific investigation. Each artifact pulled from the seabed adds another piece to the puzzle of this lost world, helping researchers reconstruct the environment and lifeways of its ancient inhabitants. These discoveries continue today, with fishing trawlers and dredging operations occasionally recovering prehistoric tools and bones from beneath the North Sea. In recent decades, technological advances have revolutionized our understanding of Doggerland. Perhaps the most ingenious breakthrough came when researchers realized they could repurpose seismic survey data that had been collected by petroleum companies. These surveys, originally conducted to locate potential oil and gas deposits beneath the North Sea, use sound waves to create detailed images of subsurface structures. By reanalyzing this data, archaeologists have generated remarkable three-dimensional maps of the ancient landscape hidden beneath the seabed. These reconstructions reveal a complex topography that once characterized Doggerland: extensive river valleys cutting through rolling hills, lakes dotting the countryside, and elevated areas that would have been prime locations for human settlement. The identification of the ancient Schotten River system was particularly significant. This major waterway would have provided fresh water, transportation routes, and abundant resources for Mesolithic inhabitants. By mapping these features, researchers can predict likely settlement locations and focus their underwater investigations more effectively. Beyond seismic mapping, advances in marine archaeology have enabled more direct investigation of the seabed. Remote-operated vehicles equipped with high-resolution cameras can now survey areas of interest, while specialized dredging equipment can carefully retrieve sediment samples and potential artifacts. The archaeological record of Doggerland continues to expand through both accidental finds and targeted research expeditions. In 2019, researchers made a significant breakthrough when they recovered a hammerstone and various worked flints from the seabed near the Dutch coast. These tools, dating to approximately 9,000 years ago, provide tangible evidence of human technological adaptation in this changing environment. Each artifact tells a story of how Mesolithic people crafted and used tools to survive in their world. A 2021 study broke new scientific ground by analyzing sediment cores extracted from the North Sea floor. Rather than just examining the physical composition of these cores, researchers identified preserved DNA evidence of diverse flora and fauna that once inhabited Doggerland. This environmental DNA revealed a landscape populated by birch, pine, and alder trees, alongside animals including reindeer and hares. This genetic evidence paints a vivid picture of a rich ecosystem that supported human communities for thousands of years. Perhaps the most evocative discovery in Doggerland's archaeological history came in 1931, when the fishing trawler Kalinda hauled up a barbed antler point, a sophisticated harpoon, alongside worked flint tools from the Dogger Bank. Later radiocarbon dating placed these artifacts at approximately 11,000 years old, confirming human presence and technological sophistication in this now submerged territory. The harpoon, with its carefully crafted barbs designed to secure prey, demonstrates the advanced hunting techniques developed by Doggerland's inhabitants. The story of Doggerland has acquired new relevance in our era of anthropogenic climate change. The gradual inundation of this once populated landscape serves as a potent historical analog for the challenges facing coastal communities worldwide today. During the early Holocene, Doggerland underwent transformation due to natural climate warming following the last glacial maximum. However, there's a crucial difference between then and now: rate of change. While Doggerland's transformation unfolded over millennia, allowing for gradual human adaptation, today's climate changes are occurring at an unprecedented pace driven by human activity. The inhabitants of Doggerland had no scientific understanding of the global processes transforming their environment. They could only respond to the changes they observed. In contrast, modern societies possess comprehensive climate science knowledge and technological capabilities to address rising sea levels. Yet despite this advantage, many coastal communities worldwide face existential threats from accelerating sea level rise. From Bangladesh to Miami, From Pacific Island nations to the Netherlands, millions of people confront scenarios that echo Doggerland's fate, albeit on a compressed timescale. The key difference is that while prehistoric populations had thousands of years to adapt, modern communities may have mere decades to respond to similar challenges. Researchers studying Doggerland suggest that understanding how prehistoric populations responded to rising waters might offer valuable insights for contemporary adaptation strategies. Archaeological evidence indicates that Doggerland's inhabitants likely responded to changing conditions through several mechanisms. First, they engaged in gradual migration, moving their settlements to higher ground as coastlines encroached. Second, they demonstrated technological innovation, developing more sophisticated fishing tools and watercraft as their environment became increasingly maritime. Third, they shifted their subsistence patterns, adapting their hunting and gathering strategies to focus more on marine resources as terrestrial habitats diminished. However, the scale difference between prehistoric and modern challenges remains stark. While Doggerland's flooding displaced relatively small hunter-gatherer populations numbering perhaps in the thousands, today's sea level rise threatens hundreds of millions of people in densely populated coastal cities worldwide. Modern infrastructure, from power plants to transportation networks, creates complex vulnerabilities that didn't exist for Mesolithic communities. Nevertheless, the fundamental human capacity for adaptation remains constant across time. By studying how our ancestors navigated environmental change, we might rediscover adaptive strategies that have been forgotten in our technology-dependent modern world. The resilience demonstrated by Doggerland's inhabitants reminds us that humans have successfully faced climate challenges before, albeit never at the scale and pace we face today. Doggerland represents far more than an archaeological curiosity. It has profound implications for how we understand European prehistory and human migration patterns. The recognition of this submerged landscape fundamentally changes our perspective on how early human populations moved throughout Europe. Rather than seeing Britain as an isolated island that required sophisticated maritime technology to reach, we now understand it was once simply the western uplands of a continuous European plain. This reframes our understanding of prehistoric population movements and cultural exchanges. Some researchers have suggested that the flooding of Doggerland may have influenced the development of flood myths that appear in many European cultural traditions. While direct connections are impossible to prove, the traumatic experience of losing homeland to rising waters would have created powerful narratives that could be passed down through generations. The story of a lost land beneath the waves appears in various forms across cultures that border the North Sea. In modern times, Doggerland has captured the public imagination, inspiring artists, writers, and filmmakers to envision this lost world. Contemporary creative works explore what life might have been like for the last inhabitants of Doggerland, imagining their struggles and adaptations as their world literally disappeared beneath their feet. These artistic interpretations help make the archaeological findings more accessible to the public while emphasizing the human dimension of this environmental transformation. The exploration of Doggerland continues to evolve as new technologies enable more sophisticated investigation of the seabed. Ongoing research projects are using increasingly advanced remote sensing techniques to map the submerged landscape in ever greater detail. Autonomous underwater vehicles equipped with high-resolution sonar can now survey large areas of the seabed, identifying subtle topographical features that might indicate ancient human activity. Marine archaeologists are developing new methodologies specifically adapted for the challenges of North Sea exploration, where poor visibility and strong currents make traditional archaeological approaches difficult. One promising frontier involves ancient DNA analysis. As extraction and sequencing technologies improve, researchers hope to recover more genetic material from sediment cores, potentially identifying specific plant and animal species with greater precision. There's even the possibility of recovering human DNA that could reveal information about the genetic makeup of Doggerland's inhabitants and their relationship to other European populations. Climate scientists are also taking interest in Doggerland as a case study in how environments respond to warming temperatures and rising sea levels. By understanding the precise sequence and rate of Doggerland's inundation, they hope to refine models predicting how modern coastlines might change in coming decades. This cross-disciplinary approach, combining archaeology, geology, genetics, and climate science, represents the cutting edge of Doggerland research, promising new insights in the years ahead. The submerged landscape of Doggerland serves as a powerful reminder of our planet's dynamic nature and humanity's ongoing relationship with changing environments. As research continues to unveil the secrets of this forgotten continent, we gain insights not only into our prehistoric past but also perspective on our present environmental challenges. Doggerland demonstrates that significant geographical transformations have occurred throughout human history, forcing adaptations and migrations. However, it also underscores the unprecedented nature of our current situation, where human-induced climate change accelerates natural processes at rates that may overwhelm our adaptive capabilities. Unlike the inhabitants of Doggerland, we face these challenges with scientific understanding and technological tools that should, in theory, allow us to respond more effectively. Yet political, economic, and social barriers often prevent implementation of solutions that could mitigate the worst impacts of climate change. Perhaps the most profound lesson from Doggerland is that environments we consider permanent are actually in constant flux. The seemingly solid ground beneath our feet has, in geological terms, a fluid quality, rising, falling, shifting over time. By recognizing this fundamental truth about our planet, we might approach our environmental challenges with greater humility and foresight. The people of Doggerland adapted to their changing world without understanding the global processes at work. We have the advantage of that understanding. The question is whether we will use it wisely. Doggerland represents one of history's most remarkable lost worlds, a vibrant landscape that connected Britain to continental Europe for thousands of years before disappearing beneath the waves. Through cutting-edge archaeology, we've begun to reconstruct this submerged realm where Mesolithic humans hunted mammoths, built communities, and developed sophisticated tools for survival. The story of its gradual submersion, culminating in the catastrophic Storegga tsunami around 6200 BCE, offers a sobering parallel to our modern climate crisis. Unlike Doggerland's inhabitants, who faced rising seas without understanding global climate processes, we possess both the knowledge and technology to address similar challenges today. Yet as coastal communities worldwide face accelerating sea level rise, Doggerland's fate serves as both warning and inspiration. It reminds us that landscapes we consider permanent are actually in constant flux, while demonstrating humanity's remarkable capacity for adaptation in the face of environmental change. As research continues with increasingly sophisticated technologies, from seismic mapping to ancient DNA analysis, Doggerland continues to bridge our past and future, a submerged mirror reflecting both where we've come from and where we might be heading. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for updates. Your feedback is appreciated. We hope to see you again.